This video is sponsored by Aura.
Signal gas town. Convoy's on its way.
Colonel Joseph Moore, better known as Immortan Joe, is the central antagonist in the 2015 post-apocalyptic action film Mad Max Fury Road, the fourth installment of George Miller's Mad Max series, and the main antagonist in its 2024 prequel, Furiosa. Joe is a complex character embodying both the brutality and resilience needed to survive and thrive in a world reduced to chaos. His story is one of power, survival, and the blurred lines between villainy and leadership. Before the collapse of civilization, Joe Moore was a colonel in the Australian Army, having heroically served in the oil wars and the water wars. These conflicts erupted due to dwindling resources, and Joe emerged as a decorated hero, particularly during the water wars. His military career was marked by strategic brilliance and a reputation for ruthless efficiency. Despite his heroism, Joe's efforts could not save the world from its impending doom. The collapse of global society left him as one of the highest-ranking military officers remaining, with other superiors scattered or evacuated. As society crumbled, Joe used his military experience and authority to form a band of ex-soldiers to restore order in the desolate Wasteland. This band included figures like Major Kalashnikov, later known as the Bullet Farmer, and Deep Dog, a strategist. Joe's ambition led him to seize power by force, defeating rival gangs and consolidating his control over key resources. This transformation from military leader to warlord marked the beginning of his metamorphosis into the infamous Immortan Joe. Joe's rise to power accelerated with the discovery of a massive underground aquifer hidden in the desert. This water source was crucial in a world where such resources were scarce and invaluable. Despite initial attempts to negotiate control over the water, Joe ultimately took it by force, demonstrating his ruthless pragmatism. This move solidified his control and provided the foundation for his burgeoning empire. With the citadel under his control, Joe gained significant followers by trading water and other resources in exchange for loyalty. He further expanded his power by securing an abandoned oil refinery known as Gastown and a lead mine called the Bullet Farm. These resources ensured his dominance over the desert, allowing him to fuel his growing empire and impose his rule with an iron fist. Joe's transformation into Immortan Joe began as he consolidated his control. Revered as a savior by the desperate and oppressed, he created a cult following among the war boys, who were young men indoctrinated from childhood to worship and serve him as loyal soldiers. Hey there! Before we continue, it's important to remember that just like the characters in Mad Max fight to protect what's theirs, we must also be vigilant about safeguarding our personal information online. Look, it's always unsettling to stumble upon personal information online, especially when it involves someone close to you. Just the other day, I decided to do a quick search for my own name and email address, curious to see what might pop up. To my surprise, I didn't find much about myself. However, as I continued scrolling, I came across some concerning information about a close relative on a website called ID Crawl. This website displayed a variety of personal details, including their social media profiles, contact information, and even addresses. It was a stark reminder of just how exposed our data can be on the internet, and it left me feeling incredibly uncomfortable. The thought of someone being able to access this kind of sensitive information about my loved ones is truly disturbing. It's not just websites like ID Crawl that pose a threat to our privacy. Recently, AT&T revealed that over 73 million customer records, both existing and former customers, were released on the dark web. In response, they recommend those affected use strong passwords, monitor account activity, and consider credit freezes or fraud alerts from credit bureaus. It's a daunting task to keep up with all these precautions, especially when our personal information is constantly at risk. That's why I've been using Aura, the sponsor of today's video. Aura is an online security app that keeps you safe by providing features like data broker opt-out, dark web monitoring, fraud monitoring, identity theft insurance, a VPN, password manager, and even parental controls. With Aura, I don't have to worry about downloading several different apps just because a company couldn't keep my data secure. It does all the hard work of keeping me and my family safe. I'm not leaving myself and my loved ones vulnerable to data breaches. And if you don't want to either, you can go to this link and try your first 2 weeks for free. For more details, I will also leave you the link in the description below. Now let's continue. Promising his followers eternal glory in Valhalla, Joe inspired fanatical loyalty, turning his followers into fearless warriors willing to die at his command. This cult devotion was a critical component of his power, allowing him to maintain control over the Citadel and its resources. The war boys, distinguished by their white-painted bodies and shaved heads, were the enforcers of Joe's will, ensuring his dominance remained unchallenged. Despite his immense power, Joe's physical condition was deteriorating. He suffered from cancer, respiratory problems, and other ailments caused by radiation exposure. To secure his legacy, Joe initiated a breeding program, capturing beautiful women and forcing them to bear his children. These women, known as the Five Wives, were kept in luxurious captivity and provided with rare books, musical instruments, and the best food and air the Citadel could offer. This program was driven by Joe's desire to produce a healthy heir who could continue his legacy. Joe's attempts to produce a viable heir were fraught with difficulties. His sons, Rictus erectus, Corpus colossus, and Scabrous scrotus were born with multiple genetic defects that made them incapable of meeting Joe's expectations of intelligence, strength, and leadership. Rictus, though immensely strong, had the mind of a child and no leadership instinct. Corpus, though brilliant, was physically disabled and unable to command respect among the war boys. Scabrous was a psychopathic antisocial who would likely destroy Joe's empire if ever allowed to claim it. This led Joe to desperation, intensifying his efforts to find a healthy successor. Immortan Joe's reign was challenged by the arrival of warlord Dementus and his biker horde. Dementus, a young and ambitious warlord, saw an opportunity to challenge Joe's dominance. Initially, Dementus's forces captured Gastown, leading to intense negotiations and an uneasy truce. Joe, recognizing the need for strategic alliances, allowed Dementus to retain control of Gastown while securing a portion of its resources. However, this uneasy truce was short-lived. Dementus's dissatisfaction with the arrangement and his ambition to control the Citadel led to a prolonged and bloody conflict known as the 40 Days Wasteland War. This war was marked by brutal battles and military strategies, testing Joe's leadership and the loyalty of his followers. Despite Dementus's initial successes, Joe's strategic cunning ultimately prevailed, consolidating his reputation as a master tactician and unyielding ruler. Victory in the 40 Days Wasteland War further solidified Joe's control over the Citadel and surrounding territories. It also reinforced the loyalty of his followers, who viewed him as an almost invincible leader. The war highlighted Joe's ability to balance brute force with strategic acumen, ensuring his continued dominance in the post-apocalyptic world. The events of Mad Max Fury Road represent the final chapter of Immortan Joe's rule. When his trusted lieutenant, Imperator Furiosa, betrayed him by escaping with the Five Wives, Joe launched a relentless pursuit across the desert. This pursuit, known as the War Rig Chase, saw Joe deploy all his resources to reclaim his prized wives. The chase was a testament to Joe's determination and the extreme measures he was willing to take to maintain control. In the climactic battle, Furiosa managed to kill Immortan Joe by ripping off his face with a chain, ending his tyrannical reign. This brutal confrontation highlighted Joe's vulnerability and the limits of his power. Despite his formidable presence and resources, Joe was ultimately defeated by the determination and courage of those he had oppressed. Joe's body was returned to the Citadel, where the wretched, who were the oppressed masses, tore it apart, symbolizing the collapse of his despotic empire. The sight of Joe's lifeless body shattered the myth of his immortality and inspired the wretched to rise and take control of the Citadel. This marked the end of Joe's reign and the beginning of a new era for the inhabitants of the Citadel. Immortan Joe's appearance is as striking as it is grotesque. He is distinguished by wearing a skull-shaped gas mask and his long white hair. His armor, made of some kind of bulletproof plastic and contoured with muscles, is adorned with medals and trophies, giving him an imposing presence. Beneath it, Joe is a decaying figure, with pale skin covered in tumors and sores. He requires an artificial lung to breathe, further emphasizing his fragility, masked by a facade of strength. This contrast of strength and vulnerability is central to Immortan Joe's character. Joe's physical appearance is not merely a reflection of his health, but a symbol of his power and control. The skull-shaped mask and the white powder he uses to ease his pain give him a ghostly, almost supernatural appearance. This visual image reinforces his status as a figure of fear and reverence among his followers. The meticulously designed armor and display of trophies serve to intimidate his enemies and inspire loyalty among his subjects. Joe's personality is a study in contrast. On one hand, he is a charismatic and manipulative leader, capable of inspiring absolute loyalty among his followers. His public persona is that of a benevolent ruler, rationing water and resources to maintain control. On the other hand, he is a brutal dictator, maintaining power through fear and violence. Joe's ability to balance these aspects of his personality is key to his success as a leader. Despite his oppressive nature, Joe shows flashes of compassion and altruism, believing his actions are for the greater good. He cares deeply for his wives, though he treats them more as possessions than as people. His desire for a healthy heir reveals a vulnerability, making him a more nuanced character than a typical villain. Joe's treatment of his followers, particularly the war boys, reflects his understanding of the need for both loyalty and fear to maintain control. Joe's strategic acumen is evident in his ability to outmaneuver his enemies and maintain his empire. He is a master orator, capable of rallying his followers with grand speeches and promises of eternal glory in Valhalla. His cunning is also reflected in his ability to negotiate and form alliances, as seen in his dealings with Dementus. Joe's ability to balance brute force with strategic thinking is a key aspect of his leadership. Immortan Joe's skills are rooted in his charisma, cunning, and military experience. He is a master orator and strategist, able to outthink and outfight his enemies. His speeches inspire fanatical loyalty among his followers, turning them into fearless warriors willing to die for his cause. Joe's charisma is a powerful tool, allowing him to maintain control over his empire through a combination of inspiration and intimidation. Joe's military skills are another critical aspect of his abilities. He is a skilled driver, able to maneuver and keep pace with the war rig. His marksmanship is exceptional, allowing him to make precise shots even in the heat of battle. Despite his physical ailments, Joe's endurance and determination enable him to endure prolonged conflicts and lead from the front. These skills are a testament to his military training and ability to adapt to the harsh realities of the post-apocalyptic world. Despite his formidable skills, Joe is not without weaknesses. His age and physical ailments are significant vulnerabilities, limiting his ability to engage in prolonged physical activities. His dependence on a respirator and constant need for medical attention underline his fragility. Additionally, Joe's obsession with his legacy and the need for a healthy heir are psychological weaknesses that drive many of his actions, sometimes leading him to make impulsive decisions. With all this in mind, the story of Immortan Joe raises a profound philosophical question. Was he a villain or a good leader? In the brutal post-apocalyptic world of Mad Max, the lines between good and evil are often blurred. Joe's actions, though undeniably cruel and tyrannical, were driven by a desire to create order and ensure survival in a world dominated by chaos, disease, and scarcity. His ability to inspire loyalty and fear, combined with his strategic acumen, made him a successful leader in a harsh and unforgiving world. The legacy of Immortan Joe is a testament to the harsh realities of his world. He provided stability, resources, and a vision of hope to his followers, albeit through oppression and fear. His death marked the end of a tyrannical regime, but also left a power vacuum that could lead to even greater chaos. This dichotomy reflects the complex nature of leadership in a world where survival often requires brutality. The character of Immortan Joe challenges us to reconsider our notions of leadership and morality. In a world where survival often requires brutality, the distinction between a villain and a savior becomes increasingly complex. Joe's story invites us to reflect on the cost of power and the true nature of leadership in the face of existential threats. Is it possible to be both a tyrant and a savior? This question lingers as a haunting reminder of the moral ambiguities that define the world of Mad Max. In conclusion, Immortan Joe remains one of the most complex and fascinating characters in the Mad Max franchise. His story is one of power, survival, and the blurred lines between villainy and leadership. Joe's rise to power, strategic acumen, and ability to inspire fanatical loyalty is a testament to his skills as a leader. However, his oppressive nature, treatment of the Five Wives, and brutal methods underline his role as a tyrant. Reflecting on Joe's story, we are left with a philosophical question that resonates beyond the world of Mad Max. Can a leader who provides stability and hope in a chaotic world be considered a villain? Or is he simply a product of his environment, doing what is necessary to ensure survival? The answer to this question is as complex and multifaceted as Immortan Joe himself, making him one of the most intriguing and provocative characters in modern cinema. Hey, don't go just yet. If you enjoyed my video, I'd love to recommend another one for you to watch.